Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing another check-in video. Today we're going to be looking at the check-in video for July, everything that I watched and read this month so far. And I am still trying to figure out the best angle here for shooting my videos. I'm trying to see what the best way to show off my wall of stuff is, right? So I think this is a pretty good angle, but at night when there isn't so much light, it might be difficult to record like this. So I might have to switch between two different angles depending on when I record. I'm not really sure. I would rather not have to do that. I kind of like having a consistency across all of them, right? But across all of the videos, but we shall see. Maybe I'll just need to get an extra light to put over there in that corner, right? But yeah, I think this looks good. Maybe I might want to move it a little bit more, a little bit more to the right of me, right, that way. But I don't know, I think it looks good for now. You can see Kaliman and Luffy and Brook right there, so it's good. You can still see my bookshelf and some of my figures, but I don't know, let me know what you guys think. The other one where you can see most of everything is probably pretty good, but I might want to show off the Boji poster instead. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's not really that important here. So is there anything important that I need to talk to you guys about in terms of like the channel? I don't think so. I think that everything is okay. I did mention like months ago that I was going to do a giveaway, and I do still have those books. I have not gotten rid of them. So I will probably do the giveaway video at some point this month. I wanted to do it at the beginning of the month, but because my family was over, it was hard to find time to record properly, so I didn't. And I didn't have time to do it beforehand, right? So yeah. Later today, when this video comes out, you will also see the Q2 review, the mid-year review. There's no unhaul this time because I have not unhauled any books, or the few that I did unhaul, they are just directly going to the giveaway stash, so there's no point in mentioning them. Otherwise, there really isn't anything else that I can think of. Yeah, I did have the idea of making a second channel and making that channel focus more on the Conan stuff, because with Titan and Heroic Signatures having the license for Conan and the kind of great stuff that they've been doing so far, I thought it might be interesting to make a video that focuses on sword and sorcery, with the main source of content coming from those videos, from the Conan review videos. But I thought about it, and I'm still thinking about it actually, but so far I don't think that's for the best. I mean, it might actually be better for me because it might make that channel grow more, but at the same time, it would make it a little bit more difficult for me to, figure out how to make my videos. So I'm not sure that I want to do that, although it is something that I've been considering for a while. I do want to make more content in Spanish, but it's been like 6 months since I did a Ñoño Chat podcast episode. So I don't think I'll get back to that anytime soon, but I have thought about reviving that idea and maybe making it more of a podcast thing, like without me, in the picture. But I'm not really sure. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about. I do have some other video ideas that I have not gotten around to. I did think of a cool event to do as well. Kind of because the Blackstone event, or the Battle of the Blackstone comic book event, is coming up here. This is a kind of the culmination to the first year of publication for Heroic Signatures Conan. I thought, there's a bunch of characters that are being introduced that don't really have too much going on for them in terms of like the fan base knowing who they are right now, right? Like based on the main story, the main 12 issues of Conan so far, you really don't know who Dark Agnes or Conrad and Kirowan or Alborak are, right? So I thought, what if I make a series of videos talking about the first story that relates to each of those characters, and release it in the weeks leading up to the first part of the event? And I thought about that, and I think I might be able to do it, but it's going to be cutting it close, right? I might have to start working on that like immediately right now, right? And I also thought about doing some other stuff, like reading Jim Sub's previous attempts at Conan. He did do another crossover event of the same kind, called Serpent War. It's a 4-issue series. I have it. I bought it at Howard Days, so I thought about doing that, reading that, plus all of the stories introducing the characters. But But I don't know. I haven't really figured out if that's what I want to do or not. And that's because I was trying to tie that into the launch of the new channel. And I don't think I'll get around to deciding if I want that new channel, up there or not yet, right? I will also be doing a, Conan in review video at some point. So that's coming up. But I think that's it for the update. So let's get into what I've been watching this month. So I started off the month watching Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes again. And I watched this with my family. We went on a Tuesday, so it was really cheap. It was like $5.50 per person, which is awesome. Like that is a really cheap movie theater ticket. And it was a nice theater. It was a Cinemark. And it was nice. I really liked this movie the second time around. It was much better than the first time. I think that the first time I was really trying to focus on what was happening, on like what characters were saying, and it was hard to follow because I think that the mixing at the place I went to wasn't that great. I couldn't hear everything that was said properly. Second time was much better, and I think the mixing was better at that Cinemark, and because I already knew the story, I could like focus a little bit better on certain things, and that helped me like it better. So I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Then I watched Life, the 2017 movie. This was a, alien in a space station type movie. It had Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal and a bunch of different people that are really famous now, but weren't that famous in 2017. And it was okay. It wasn't a horrible movie, but it wasn't amazing either. It was like fine. Then I watched Transformers Rise of the Beast again. My sister wanted to watch it, and that's what we did for 4th of July. We had some burgers, and we watched Transformers Rise of the Beast, and it was really, really funny. It was a lot funnier than I remember it being. Maybe it's because we watched it in Spanish. I'm not really sure, but it was great. I really liked it. Then I started watching the second season of My Adventures with Superman. I think I'm continuing on from last month, and it's been really good. I have not watched episode 9 yet. It did come out today, but I haven't had a chance to give it a watch yet. Then I watched the Blue Lock movie, episode Nagi, and I was going to do a review for it, and then I thought about it, and there really isn't too much to say about the movie, so I will mention it here and at the end of the month again. If you like Nagi as your favorite Blue Lock character, you might want to watch this. However, there really isn't anything that you get in this movie that you don't already know or that you haven't already seen in the mainline story. This is more just a rehash of the first season from the perspective of Nagi. So it's a little bit different, but I don't necessarily know that it's significant enough to really warrant going to the theater and spending a lot of money, right? And I know that I usually don't have an issue with that because I pay very little to go to the movie theater, right? I mean, a $6 ticket is nothing, but I live in a specific area where that's possible. I don't necessarily know that most people that are interested in this live, here where I live. And my understanding is that most of the time tickets for movies are like, $15 or more across the country, right? So I can't say I recommend you spend $15 on a ticket for episode Nagi, right? If you can pay less than $8, I think it's worth it. I actually got to go for free because I have the Cinemark app. And I use it, and I use it enough. I gather enough points that every couple weeks or every couple months, I get to have a free ticket, and I use it to watch that. And so I didn't really feel bad about it. I was like, okay, it was a free movie, no big deal. It wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't that bad, right? It's like a 6 or 7 out of 10. The only good part was that at the end there was 2 different cutscenes, post-credit cutscenes, and there were 2 different kind of versions of the same event, which was the start of the U20 competition for Blue Lock, right? So it's basically what's going to happen in season 2 of the series if we get that far, right? If we get to have that, which I think we will, because the Blue Lock has been a really popular series, right? So, but I think that you can probably find those online. So, your mileage may vary. I was actually kind of upset that they didn't give out any extras to go along with the movie. For the Spy Family movie, they gave out little postcards. For the My Hero Academia movie, they gave out little booklets. They didn't give out anything for the Blue Lock movie, and I think that was a missed opportunity. So, yeah. Then I watched Bad Boys Ride or Die. this was a hilarious movie. It was so funny. I really enjoyed it. It's a throwback to an older type of movie, something that we really haven't seen in the last 15 years or so, and it was phenomenal. I really had a fun time with it. However, I think Martin Lawrence, the shorter of the two bad boys, he really slurs his words a lot, and it was hard to understand him. And that does kind of kill the enjoyment a little bit, but the story was fun. The characters were nice, enjoyable. It was great. I really had a fun time with it. I recommend you guys check it out. However, maybe wait till you can get subtitles on it, because it is a little bit annoying that I don't know what the hell he's saying half of the time. But it is what it is. Then I watched Fly Me to the Moon. This is actually what I did for my birthday. So I went to the One Piece 25th Anniversary Symphony on the 10th of July. That was the birthday gift my parents gave me. And for my actual birthday, I decided that I just wanted to, go eat dinner with a friend and my sister and my friend's girlfriend, and then just go to the movies afterwards, right? So we went to have Thai food for dinner. It was nice. We went to Barnes & Noble. My friend got me a gift from there. And then we went down to the movie theater. However, I had basically already seen every movie that I wanted to see. I didn't want to watch like a horror movie, because I think that's the only two movies that I haven't seen that are in theaters right now, or a Bollywood movie, which is the other offering that they had. So I decided to watch Fly Me to the Moon. I like the cast, so I was interested in it, and I actually really enjoyed it. I've seen people complain about this movie, that it's bad or that the story is nonsensical and stuff like that. But I didn't find that to be the case. I thought it was an enjoyable movie. I thought it was fun. I did have one or two issues, and those are the following. So first of all, this is a romance, drama, comedy type movie set in a very specific historical time period, right? Like, the movie goes out of its way to really feel like a period piece. It almost feels like a biopic type movie, but everything that happens in it is completely fake, right? Like, it is a contemporary romance story that they just moved to fit into the Apollo 11 mission, right? And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. However, I think it's a problem that it's unclear that this is a fake story, right? Like, because the whole feeling of the movie almost has that like biopic, like this is a dramatized version of real events type movie, right? And so I think that was a bit of a miss. However, the costuming was wonderful. The time period was nice. The way that they made it feel like the 1960s was awesome, or what was it, like 1950s, right? Something like that. I can't remember. I think it was the 1960s. Was good. The characters were fun and interesting. Channing Tatum was, okay. He wasn't the most interesting main character, but Scarlett Johansson was phenomenal. I loved her. She was so compelling and interesting and beautiful. And so I really enjoyed this movie. I think that the drama aspect of it was great. I think that the kind of like slight espionage, like things are dangerous kind of feel to it was good. And it had a lot of funny moments to it. It had like a really good balance of like ridiculousness and seriousness to it. So I really liked it. I thought it was a great movie. I would say like it's a 9 out of 10. I would watch it again. But it is not necessarily an amazing movie. And I actually, I don't know why, it did have that biopic feeling, because I remember, I can't remember if it was me or my friend that said it, but it was like, oh, it's like when we went to watch Oppenheimer, but it made me feel good instead of depressed, right? And I thought that was a pretty good way to sum it up. However, of course, Oppenheimer is like at a whole different level, right? Like that is the pinnacle of cinema, more or less, at least in the last couple of years. This doesn't really reach that level. Fly Me to the Moon doesn't really reach that level, but it has that kind of feel to it, right? Like it feels like it's a dramatic retelling of a historical event. It just happens to be completely false, right? However, this would be a really nice novel. I hope that they based it on something like that. I think that it makes sense that this would be like a novel that just happened to get liked well enough by someone to be turned into a movie. And I've been watching some episodes of How I Met Your Mother. My sister likes to watch that while she eats dinner, and so that's what I've been watching with her. And it's been pretty fun. I forgot how funny it is. It definitely is a bit sus, nowadays in 2024. Some of the stuff that happens and some of the stuff that the characters do is like, oh, are you sure you want to say that? Or are you sure you want to do that? But at the same time, I remember when it was coming out, it's not that long ago, and it still feels pretty funny and hilarious and ridiculous. And the fact is that, most of the stuff that is really messed up in that show comes out of Barney, and everyone knows that Barney is bad anyway, so it kind of lessens the blow a little bit, right? But it's really fun. I really enjoy it. So yeah, maybe that just means that I have horrible taste in TV. I'm not really sure, but yeah, so that was it for everything I watched. Now let's talk about everything that I read, right? So in terms of novels, I finished the last bit of Hondo at the beginning of the month, like the last 10 to 20 pages, and this novel was really great. However, I feel like the ending was a bit too quick. I think it didn't really leave me satisfied with the condition of the characters, right? Like, everyone got to the point they needed to get to, but I feel like there was a lot more going on that needed to happen that wasn't shown to us for me to really believe that Hondo and Angie would be together for the rest of their lives, right? I definitely understand the attraction and the value that they hold for each other, but the way that everything wraps up really quickly felt a bit dissatisfying. So that's really my only complaint, but it's not enough for me to really knock this too much. I would still call this like a 4 out of 5. Like, it was pretty great. And I know I'm really late to it. That was my June on the Range read, and I still haven't done a review for it, but I will do one by the 20th probably. So late into July, right? But yeah, then I read three other novels. I read the second set of Cradle books that I had. So I read Skysworn, Cradle number 4. I read Ghostwater, Cradle number 5, and Underlord, which is Cradle number 6. And I love Cradle. It's so great. It's so fun. I enjoy how easy it is to read these books. And I really find this funny where I read the book, it finishes, and I'm like, well, nothing really happened. And then I sit down to write my review, and I'm like, oh shit, like 1,000 things happened. And it's really satisfying that happens, because it really reminds me of like how like skilled, I guess is the right word, Will White is at weaving these stories and making these elements feel interesting and fun, right? We are getting to the point where the power scaling is kind of getting ridiculous, right? But at the same time, it is still kind of believable. Well, not really believable, but it's still like within the realm of understanding for me, right? And I think that eventually it will get too high. It'll get too difficult to understand. But I have not experienced that issue yet. I really enjoyed everything that happened in these 3 issues, or in these 3 volumes of these 3 books of the story. And I can't wait for more. I do have to wait because the next set of books is $10, and I don't want to spend that much right now on a digital book, right? So I will have to wait a bit, but I will try my best to get around to buying it soon, because I do want to probably finish Cradle by the end of the year. I think that is a good goal, but we will see. So far, I'm really loving the series. I think the second set of books was probably better than the first 3, probably because at this point, the characters are established, and so a lot of character development goes into them. However, there was one issue that I had here, which was that there's these 2 characters introduced. They're kind of like higher level cops, because they're part of the Skysworns, right? So the Skysworns are the cops for the Black Flame Empire, and these 2 characters are supposed to be the leaders of this group that includes Lyndon and Yaren, and they hate Lyndon and Yaren, but their hatred isn't really understandable for the reader, right? Like, just because Will told us a bunch of times that the Black Flames are dangerous and that the Blood Shadows are bad, right? And we can understand that. That doesn't necessarily mean that these 2 characters have hatred for Lyndon and Yaren. That makes sense to me. That is understandable, right? Because these people are supposed to be really high-level martial artists. They're supposed to be high-ranking members of this organization. You would think that that means that they have thought process associated to them. They know something. They can think for themselves. And it really feels like they kind of just go along with the sheep with this one. And it doesn't really feel satisfying to me, right? So that's the one complaint I have about this set of Cradle books. But otherwise, it's great. I really liked it. And that's more or less everything that I read in terms of novels. In terms of comics, I read Marvel's Must Have number 3, which collects Spider-Man Gang War number 39, Avengers number 7 and Moon Knight number 1. And also, I only read the first two because I already read Moon Knight a while back. So the Gang War one was bad. I didn't like the artwork for it. And also lacked all the context necessary to understand the event. The Avengers number 7 one was actually pretty good. I actually thought that was well handled. I liked it. I thought it was nice. It was kind of the beginning of a story arc. So there wasn't much context that I needed beyond knowing who the Avengers were. So that was good. Then I read Savage Sword of Conan number 3. This was a great issue. There's still some printing issues. There's still some problems with how Titan is releasing this, but the problems are pretty minimal at this point. So hopefully we'll get a new issue that doesn't have any problems in the future. I think that is soon to come. I just don't know exactly when, right? So yeah, then I read Conan the Barbarian number 12. I did a review for it that came out 2 days ago, and I also did one for Savage Sword. And this was a great ending to the first year of publication. I think it's wonderful. There was nothing unsatisfying about the series. There was a lot of great stuff. I love that they finished up with Rob Del Toro's artwork, so that's really, really great. And if I had a complaint, it wouldn't necessarily be for this set of books. It would be for the fact that throughout all 12, or 13 if you count the free comic book day one, the art shift between arcs is not my favorite. Not necessarily because one artist is better than the other, but because their styles are so different that it's hard for me to really think that this is the same run, right? It's hard for me to connect them together. There's also another issue that I have, but it concerns timelines, and I don't necessarily know that it's a big enough issue because we don't actually know the true chronology of the Robert E. Howard Conan stories, right? We understand when he wrote them, we understand when they were published, and we understand that some of them are when Conan is young, when some of them are when Conan is old, and stuff like that. But we don't really truly know, when Conan is like 15, when he's 20, when he's 21. We just know like vague time periods, right? And so there's some wiggle room, right? But the second story arc happens after the death of Belit and the Queen of the Black Coast. This is one of the seminal stories for Conan. And the third story arc, the stuff that finishes off the first year of publication, ends or happens before he meets Yog-Kosha, the elephant god, alien character from the Tower of the Elephant. And to me, that sounds incorrect. Like that it is not possible for the story to have Conan, grieving Belit before he meets Yog-Kosha, right? And he should, it's hard to explain without the context of the whole book, right? So it's kind of difficult, but what I mean is Conan meets Yog-Kosha for the first time in this series of comic books by Jim Sub, right? We know that he kills Yog-Kosha at the end of the Tower of the Elephant, and my understanding is that Conan is pretty young when he does the Tower of the Elephant, right? Because he's a thief before he's a pirate. And so he meets Yog-Kosha, he's doing his thievery when he's young, and then he becomes a pirate, and then he meets Belit, right? And so for me, the timelines don't really match up correctly, according to my understanding of the stories. But at the same time, Jim and the team are working alongside Jeff Shanks, who is a Conan historian. He is a proponent of the Robert E. Howard canon exclusivity kind of movement, I guess you could call it. And so it makes sense that they would know the right, kind of method and choices for that sort of stuff, right? I don't necessarily think that this was a hiccup. It could have been, but I don't think so. But that does tick me the wrong way a little bit because it feels like an oversight based on my understanding, right? But at the same time, maybe the understanding of everyone else is different from mine, right? So it is what it is. Then I read Barbaric number 2. This is pretty good. It's kind of funny that the Savage Sword of Conan number 3 featured werewolves, and this also featured werewolves, and that's pretty fun. It's something that happens quite a bit, actually, between sword and sorcery comic books. Was it 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. The Death Dealer comic book by Opus, who I think is a defunct company now, was dealing with the main character going down into hell to retrieve a child. At the same time, Barbaric, I think in its second story arc, or maybe it's third, was also dealing with the main character going down into hell to bring back someone. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. And in this case, we have Savage Sword of Conan dealing with werewolves, and we have Barbaric also dealing with werewolves. So that's pretty funny. It's kind of interesting that that happens, and that it happened twice in such a short time, right? So yeah, then I read Mirka Andolfo's Blasphemous. This is the last part of the story, and thank God, because I like the story. I think it's fun, but like many Mirka Andolfo works, it feels like it was a really interesting concept, but the execution was not the best. I like the artwork a lot. I think the storyline is a bit lacking, but that just kind of happens to be the case with a lot of Mirka Andolfo's work. So it's not really disappointing. It's kind of expected, but also it kind of sucks. The only issue and the only reason why I'm happy it's over is actually because of the price tag for this. It's $9. It's not significantly better than other, things that are being published in the same format, but it still is the most expensive, or second most expensive if you count Penthouse, book in its format, right? It was by Distillery, and it seems like they're doing a great job. They're expanding and they're able to keep up, but I don't think I'm interested in checking out anything else by them, and so I'm happy that I'm done collecting this because it was the only thing I was interested in, and it's nice to not have to pay $9 every couple months again. So that's good. Then I started reading some comic strips. I read Calvin and Hobbes Portable Compendium #1, and this contains, I don't know, like 120 something pages of strips, and I loved it. I think it was really, really nice. It was really fun. It was really relaxing to read this, and my favorite parts were definitely the color pages that are scattered throughout here. So as you can see, most of the time it's like this side, but sometimes you get these color pages and they look really, really great. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna get the following set of the Portable Compendium after I finish the second book that comes in this one, right? So yeah, and then to finish off, in terms of manga, so far I've only read 2, and that would be Ace's Story #1 and Ace's Story #2. And this is an abridged version of the light novel. It's actually better than the light novel in my opinion, because Boichi's artwork really carries here, and there really isn't anything wrong with it. It's just not that enjoyable. I really just got it because of Boichi's artwork. There's also 2 extra chapters included in this that cover Boichi's remixing of One Piece, right? So for whatever reason, when the 1000th chapter came out, they decided to do a celebration, and some of this included getting different mangaka that worked at Shonen Jump to do works to celebrate One Piece, right? And apparently Oda specifically asked for Boichi to draw 2 different scenes from his manga. The first one was Boichi's interpretation of the duel between Mihawk and Zoro in the Baratie arc early on in One Piece. I think chapters like 45 through 60 or something. And the other one was the fight between Nami and Khalifa in Enies Lobby, right? So that was like chapter 560 or something. And well, everything is great. The art style is phenomenal. The storytelling is not bad. It's just the story is not that interesting, right? And it's not that important because we know Ace, we know what happens to him, we know that the most important thing about Ace is his connection to Luffy, and this doesn't really necessarily deal with that, right? It actually deals with how Ace became Fire Fist Ace, how he got his Devil Fruit, where he got his crew, when he joined Whitebeard, and all of that stuff is fun to know, but it's not really necessary to understand One Piece, right? But because of Boichi's amazing artwork, you get some really awesome moments here, right? When he meets Shanks, that looks awesome. Shanks looks a little bit like the strong guy from Dr. Stone. When he meets Whitebeard, it looks amazing. When Jinbei and him fight, also looks amazing. Like, all of those moments are really, really cool individually, but there is no real cohesion in the story, right? And like I said, those moments are not necessary to see. It's nice that we got to see them, but it doesn't really add value to the One Piece story. So, take it or leave it. But that's everything I've been reading this month. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know what you thought down below. What have you guys been watching and reading this month? What has been your favorite thing to watch or read? And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.